As we reach the last parts of 2022, it is quite interesting to have an overview of the overall financial situation of the market. The local economy in Greece, despite the fact that it has been facing an international steep inflation trend, deriving mainly from the cost of fossil fuels that inevitably have to be consumed, has attained a growth rate that is not far away from what was initially projected in the area of 8.5%. And this was achieved mainly with the contribution of the growth rate that the tourism industry has contributed, which actually comprises something like 33% of the national GDP. And in this year in particular, we have been achieving a growth that is reflected to 30 million arrivals of new tourism on an annual base, which is something like 50% growth year to year compared to last year. In the other areas that seem to be quite interesting in terms of financial analysis, we do have a solid presence and growth in the areas of raw material, export, and pharmaceuticals, which mainly are produced by companies which are outbound and outrovert, with a large proportion of their sales to be comprised of exports to Western or Asia growing countries. So we were quite also positive on their presence and course within this industry. Ourselves support part of the subsidy strategy that has to do with the financial crisis and health crisis that inevitably each household is facing the last 2 years. However, we prefer to focus on real growth issues that have to be in place, whatever is the situation of the external environment. And mainly this has to do with the situation of the wealth and cash management areas. And when we're talking about cash management, mainly we are referring to the area of bank secrecy, which has been compromised in this country, causing a severe deterrence to any kind of serious investors in order to invest in this economy and to keep their private savings. As a mechanism of restoring part of the investment trust in this economy, we propose partly the restoration of the stock exchange, at least for the companies that do have a strong financial statement capability and outrovert behavior when it comes to export. So in these situations, we are very much supporting going down to the financial statement, to the real ratios of production, profitability, and capital performance, and as main recipes of survival for these entities and smaller ones that want to be active in such a turbulent environment. We very much support the deep business process reengineering, which is established and founded on the cost reevaluation process. Mainly all process of any economic entity has to be reevaluated in view of the turbulent situation of the markets in order to achieve both coherence and also to be able to maintain the overall primary margin in terms of profitability as a means to self-finance and ensure the survivability of the business, mainly due to the fact that the banking system in Greece is suffering from a credit crunch that cannot encourage further support in any healthy financial institutions, just partly refinancing some old client lines that is not the main object in any case of a healthy banking institution. Another major area of skepticism as far as the health of the system goes is the large NPL ratio that the Greek banks are demonstrating. In real terms, we have reached NPL ratio up to 60-70% of the whole banking assets of the 4 systemic banks in Greece, which mainly means that in order to recover or establish provisions in terms of further financial uses, they are obliged to derive to recapitalization in terms of either capital raising through IPO or private placement. However, in most of the cases that it has been repeated 3 to 4 times during the last 10 years, the recapitalization of the Greek banks has failed, and the reason why it has failed is that the management of the Greek banks has not attained to support the share price of the companies, of their banks themselves, after the IPO process, thus causing severe damage to any investors that have taken position in their IPOs and showing trust enough in their business plans. So, in terms to sustain viability and in order to survive in adverse situations, we need to have true business plans in true financial figures without any window dressing. Damage is a damage, loss is a loss. You have to undertake it, to recognize it, and to be able to have a solid solution for it in order to proceed further. So, we rationalize cost of any operation. We go down to the value chain and the production stages with analytic business process reengineering and true cost well-established positions. And after that, we make sure that we take rational decisions made on our viability and survivability criteria. In terms of other further developments that can be of encouragement for this economy, we confront as encouraging the trust that Google has shown in this local economy and has decided to establish its research facility in Athens. We encourage very much the energy exploration efforts that are taking place within the wider Greek and Eastern Mediterranean territories, which can restore part of the energy supply in Europe up to 10 years with extremely promising initial results. And we are very much pro a stable government that does not change the legislative framework on a monthly basis that has been happening for the last 10 years in Greece. We encourage the investment fund import in Greece, even subsidizing them as a main strategic choice of any government that can come out of the following elections, and also to be able to handle old credit and old debts on the private side of the economy as a main means in order to restore consumer trust and consumer behavior in the main market. Thank you.